Okay, so the next person that we have to talk about is Carole Lombard. That makes sense, right?
Yes.
So she was the queen of comedy. He was the king of Hollywood. She was the queen of comedy. And why she appealed? Because of the Depression. She was the star of what they called madcap comedies. So there was a little bit of slapstick and a lot of rushing around and being crazy. And I think she made that movie, My Man Godfrey. Do you remember that movie with William Powell?
Vaguely.
Okay, I'm so inaccurate here, but I'm pretty sure was her movie. I should know because it'll be
Wasn't
here.
that William Powell? William Powell was Godfrey?
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
So no, it's okay. The premise of the movie is it's the Depression, and of course, if you looked at the movies of Hollywood during the Depression, everybody was wealthy. They were all running around in evening gowns and tuxedos all the time. So she was the very wealthy, indulged young daughter of some rich guy. And they were doing one of these alcohol fueled scavenger hunts. And they had to get all kinds of crazy things. And one of the things they had to do was to bring a bum home, bring a hobo, somebody who was a street person. Like, that's how they thought about them. Just bring him home and he can be part of our scavenger hunt. And she convinced William Powell, and William Powell actually was a man of, in the movie, was a man of breeding and position and was not what she thought, the assumptions that she made. So she brings him home, and I forget how it unfolded, but she made him her butler. And then, insanity ensues. It was very funny. It really, and they were very good playing off each other. It was a good movie. So anyway, she was a really good person and thoughtful person. She remembered people's birthdays. She brought them presents. She liked to play practical jokes. She was a feminist, which is nice. She stood right up to the studios and the producers and the directors. She just did not care. She just refused to do a movie unless the crew she liked was on. She wanted to bring them with her. Like they would go for cheap cut corners and that kind of thing. And she wanted all the same people to be included and to have work. She was famous for swearing. So she came from Fort Wayne, Indiana, from urban working class people, lots of immigrants, very athletic. Her name was Jane Alice Peters. And I love how they changed their names. Anyway, she had this really aggressive stage mother. That's what was going on with her. And let's see here. I can't read my handwriting. Oh, okay. So she was out in the yard, and she had next door neighbors who worked in the movie industry. And she was out in the front yard, and this guy saw her, a silent film director, and offered her a little bit of a role, and the rest is history. So my question is, when she was offered work the very first time by that director, was that like a golden moment for her? Was she hesitant or reluctant, or was just the most wonderful thing?
So, Carole Lombard, are you available to speak to us? Okay, so can you tell us when you were picked by that agent?
How was a director?
Oh, sorry, director. When you were picked by that director and began your career, what was that like for you? Was that a wonderful thing? Was it magical? How did you feel? I always knew I was going to be famous, so it wasn't a surprise to me. The timing was a little bit of a surprise, but the fact that it happened, no, it was right on schedule for my life. Yeah.
So she was she had classes, lessons, dancing, acting from the time she was 2 years old, because she has a stage mother. And she used to go to the Coconut Grove and dance, and she used to do the Charleston. And we're talking the 1920s,
Hmm.
What was LA like? I swear I lived in LA in that time period. I am so drawn to that. I'm so curious. What was it like?
So, Carol, can you tell us what was LA like in your day? It was fun. It was upbeat. It was opportunity. It was just a happening place to be. There was this wonderful energy there that just lifted everybody up. Well, except the people who were on the other side of the street, I have to say. But for the people who were involved in the movies and even the periphery, it was glorious. Those were our golden days for sure.
And how I also am drawn to the physical aspect of it, like the houses and it was much less populated, less crowded, less developed. How, was it as beautiful as we have the impression from what little we get to see from pictures?
So was LA as beautiful as the pictures depict it in your day? Parts of it were, but it also had that seamy, kind of slimy side to it. So as long as you stayed on the happy-go-lucky side, you were fine. But there was definitely a demarcation.
Where was because I kind of know LA a little bit. Where was the bad side of town?
So can you tell us where was the bad side of town? The north side.
Oh, what, by Santa Monica?
So are you saying by Santa Monica? No. So
Like West Hollywood?
yes, it was away from the shore. It was inland,
Yeah.
but north, kind of like I don't know, northeast maybe. Is that what you're saying? Northeast?
Northwest, northeast. Hard to know. Oh well, it doesn't matter.
North-ish.
Not into the San Fernando Valley, because that was definitely there was a demarcation, a geographical, a tunnel and a hill, and and the other side into the valley was rural. That's where they got their ranch. People like Bob Hope bought hundreds and hundreds of acres, and there were orchards and groves and vineyards and farmland, animals and stuff. It was totally different. Okay, so let's see. For a while she became a Max Sennett bathing beauty, and we talked about Max Sennett when we did Roscoe Arbuckle. Did she ever meet Roscoe Arbuckle?
So Carol, did you ever meet Roscoe Arbuckle? Oh, sure, I knew him. He was a fine man. I really respected him. He got a raw deal.
Yeah. What was Max Sennett like?
So, did you know Max Sennett? And what was he like? I kept him at arm's length. I didn't want to be too close to that one. He had some seedy sides to him.
Oh, he was nuttier than a fruitcake.
Not somebody you could trust.
Not
Not trustworthy.
He wasn't stable. Yeah. So she made The Man of the World and The Ladies' Man with William Powell. Can she talk about William Powell?
So, Carol, could you tell us about William Powell? How did you find him? He has that reputation of being this charming ladies' man, but he had a steel edge to him, a little sharp. So you had to kind of pick your way around him. You might say he was mercurial at times. There were other times, especially when he had a few drinks, where he was loosened up and he was fun to be around. But yeah, he was mercurial a lot of the time. Hard to read.
This is a question. I read this somewhere a long time ago and it's stuck in my mind. And I don't know. I don't want to be like inappropriate, and I'm not doing it for prurient curiosity. It's more from like my medical interest. There is rumor out there that he had a colostomy. Is that true?
Wow, I never heard that one.
Yeah.
So, Carol, do you know, is it true that he had a colostomy? She says yes. And I asked her if you know that for 100%. And she said, yeah.
Well, didn't they get married? Or they were together for a long time. Yeah, they got married. And he was sort of this intellectual, kind of formal, polite, educated, and she was crazy fun. They were
Yeah.
very different. But she was a homebody. This is so interesting. She liked to stay at home and just dress down and hang around. Can she talk about that a little? What did she like to do? To me, that's like the opposite of being a movie star. They usually like to be in the limelight. I think it's interesting when you find one that really would prefer to be alone at home.
Yeah, they're more grounded.
Yeah. Does she have anything to add to that?
What was that?
Does she have anything more to add to that? Because it's interesting to us. Yeah.
So, Carol, can you talk about your personal life when you had your downtime and you were hanging around the house? What was that about? She liked the contrast of being a normal person, doing the puttering around the house and planting flowers and digging. She liked digging in the dirt. She liked being creative in that way. She liked bringing the beauty into the house. She had a very creative side to her that wasn't fully expressed through the acting. So was she an artist? Do you know?
I think she had an eye for the decorative arts. She had a friend named Billy Haynes, and he was an actor. And his career was really up and coming until somebody outed him. He was gay. And somebody outed him, and they tried to destroy his career. And the studio said to him, "We'll cover this up. You have to leave that guy, and you have to marry a woman. We'll arrange the whole thing." And he said, I don't think so. And he ended up leaving Hollywood, and he became an interior decorator. And he stayed with that guy that Louis B. Mayer threatened him about, that they wanted him to leave. He stayed with him. They were together for 50 years, which is remarkable for any relationship.
Yeah.
He said he considered himself married already, and there was no way that Louis B. Mayer was going to interfere with that. So he started doing interior decorating, and Carole Lombard was his first customer. They were friends. Can she talk about him?
Yeah. So what was his name again?
William Billy Haynes.
William Haynes. Okay. So, Carol, can you talk about your friend, Billy Haynes? I adored him. He was such good people, and he got a rough rap from Hollywood. I was really happy to give him work and help him to launch that new career and get moving forward.
He became very successful as an interior decorator. He became the decorator to the stars, and very successful, which is kind of delicious because Louis B. Mayer was, he was, as I put it, a nickname for Richard. Okay. Use your imagination.
Yes, I got it.
Let's see here. Okay, I have an impression of John Barrymore, and I'm curious to see what she thought of him.
Okay.
She was in a movie.
So, Carol, what did you think of John Barrymore? He was a little stuffy. He had a little too much being in his head. He was thinking too much. He had his demons, which is why he drank. He was a fine actor. There's no question about that. And anybody who had the opportunity to act with him was honored, privileged. But he was not easy to work with. He had his moods.
Well, he and his brother and sister, so I think that they're siblings, Lionel,
And
Edith,
Ethel.
Ethel, and John. They're touted as these unbelievably wonderful, iconic actors. I don't see it. There's a lack of charisma. I think that's what she means by his being internal and withdrawn. And the two brothers, I think they both had really severe alcohol problems. But they're the great granduncles, they're a couple of generations back directly from Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Her first name is the other side of the family, the Drews, and then she's a Barrymore. So she's like this acting royalty. I thought that was interesting. She looks like them too. Then Carole met a guy, and he was a bit younger, and they had what seems to be a really good relationship. There was rumor that he might be gay, that Carole was his beard, but he died tragically. And I wonder if she could talk. I think I want to say they were engaged. She would know. Talk about
What was his name?
Colombo. Let me get it right. I just looked at it. Where is it? Oh, for heaven's sake. Colombo, something like that. I just looked at it. Where? I can't read my own handwriting. Oh, here we go. Russ Colombo.
Russ Colombo. Okay, so Carole, can you tell us about Russ Colombo? How was that relationship? He was a good man. He didn't really like the Hollywood scene. He struggled with that. We were kind of mismatched in that way. He was more serious. I liked to have a good time. So sometimes that worked for us, but other times it didn't. We were friends. It was a good, solid friendship, but ultimately it wasn't a love match.
Oh, interesting, because people thought it was. Yeah. So how shocking was that for him to die, suddenly and so young? I think he was in some kind of an accident.
Yeah, so can you tell us about when he died? It was a tragic loss. I felt it deeply because we were such good friends. And it left a space in my life that needed to be filled. But I moved on. You have to survive. You've got to go on.
Did she realize that there were rumors that they were engaged? They were going to get married?
So, Carole, were you engaged to him? No. So, did you know there were rumors that you were engaged? Yeah. Yeah, but they didn't care. Didn't matter to them what people said.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is interesting. Rosemary Clooney, so George Clooney's aunt, she bought the house of the guy. Now, this is complicated. So Carole Lombard's friend, Russ Colombo, had a guy that was rumored to be his boyfriend. Nobody knows. And he died, supposedly an accidental shooting in this house. And it was considered an accident. Everybody moved on. Rosemary Clooney bought the house, and she claimed that Colombo haunts that house. Does Lombard know anything about that?
So, Carole, do you know anything about Colombo haunting the house that Rosemary Clooney bought? I don't know for sure myself, but I wouldn't put it past him. I could see that it would be something he would do because he had a lot of unresolved issues in his life that with a premature death like that, there's so much unresolved.
Now, let me see here if I wrote down the description of what happened. It was just a gun accident, the gun went off accidentally or whatever, and the guy got killed. So there was it wasn't like a cover up, there was no friction or weirdness or, it's just truly an accident. So then she was in My Man Godfrey with her now ex, William Powell, and Selznick became her agent, which was big in her career because it got her a better contract. And she got a lot of support from FDR. He wrote to her and he thanked her because in 1937, she made so much money that the government, which had started a progressive tax, and so the rich got really the bulk of the tax burden, she paid 80% of her income to tax. And she went public and she said she supported it, that she had a wonderful life and she supported it. Why shouldn't the rich help everybody else? And she got a personal letter from FDR about that. So I have a question about that. That's a very enlightened attitude, and most people who make a lot of money are too greedy to have that worldview. Was that because of her Baha'i faith?
Great question. So, Carole, when you said that you were happy to pay that 80% tax because you were wealthy and you could afford it, you wanted to do your share, was that because of your faith? Yeah, 100%. They believe in equality, love for everybody, peace.
I want to ask her a question. Okay, so a little backstory is I've been covering different religious beliefs, different philosophies, and I just happened to do Baha'i when I stumbled on all this. I swear to you, synchronicity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I was really, really impressed by Baha'i. I had a friend who died who was a Baha'i, and it's a very impressive way of living, a worldview. But I was so disappointed when I found out that they are extremely anti-LGBTQ. Not T. They're actually very supportive. If you're transsexual, if you have reassignment surgery, they're good with you getting married. They're good with any of that, no problem. But they do not allow homosexual relationships. And I'm thinking it's cultural because it's Persian. It's from Iran originally, and it comes out of a very Islamic background. It's not a splinter, it's its own belief system, but it has that influence.
Yeah.
So what are her thoughts about that?
So, Carole, what are your thoughts about the Baha'i religion being anti-LGBTQ? It's like Catholics who keep the faith, except they practice birth control. I kept the faith, but that part of it I didn't honor because it was wrong.
Well, I'm glad to hear her say that. Yeah.
Gay friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good for her, She was a big support for Billy Haynes. Okay, so she met Gable at a Valentine's party and they had a fight at the party. And to apologize, the next morning when he woke up in his hotel, there were 2 doves flying around the hotel room that she had delivered to his room while he was asleep as a peace offering. And so in retaliation, he delivered a Model T painted white with hearts all over it to her house. And then they went on a date and they took the car on a date. So did she fall for him immediately?
So, Carole, did you fall for Gable immediately? No. I took my time about it. He was fun, sure, but I wasn't sure I wanted to commit to him. So I took my time checking him out, making sure.
Well, he was married.
He had a little bit of a reputation.
Yeah, he was married at the time, so I'm not surprised.
Ah, okay.
So I have a question for her, and I hope this is not insulting. I'm just curious. They did a Life magazine thing on her at one point, and they had some quotes from the interview in the book here, and I didn't copy them all down. They're lengthy, you know, but I read them and I thought the description of her, no offense, but did she have a little bit of bipolar disorder going on? She was absolutely frenetic.
Yeah. Before that, though, she made this comment. She said, in Hollywood, marriage is fungible.
Okay. I think we got that.
Yeah. So, okay. I have to remember what the question was now.
What was the question? After reading the Life magazine article, I got the impression she might have been a little manic. Was she bipolar? Or was that just nerves from the interview?
Carole, were you bipolar? No, high strung is what we called it back then.
Oh, okay. So it could have been, right? You know.
Could have been, yeah. I don't think it was that severe.
No.
If she lived longer, it might have developed. But when she was alive, it was more on the fringes, like high strung.
Well, I'm not saying that bipolar is like autism, but I'm saying the way that we didn't understand it and it was misdiagnosed and that kind of thing for a long time, autism, it's not surprising. We live and we learn, right?
Yes.
So she lived with him, you know, eventually in this Encino Ranch in the San Fernando Valley. And I apologize to everybody for asking the same question, but can she describe the San Fernando Valley and what that was like in those days?
Yeah. So, Carole, can you describe the San Fernando Valley when you were there? It was our little piece of heaven, our home away from home, where we could escape from all the trappings of Hollywood and just be ourselves, let our hair down, bring our closest friends, and be authentic with one another. We treasured that. It was rare in that day.
Yeah. So she wanted to have children, but apparently the book said she had some kind of weird condition that it didn't say what, that she was told she couldn't have children. What was that all about?
So, Carole, were you told that you couldn't have children? Okay, and could you tell us what was the reason? What's that thing where the uterus is tipped? She's saying it's that. There's a name for it. I can't think of it at the moment, but the uterus is in the wrong position.
Dystocia, I think, maybe. Is that right? Dystocia?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it was a physical deformity.
Like a structural thing, yeah. I don't know. My guess is that a lot of those things, they just, they made blanket statements. I'll tell you, when I was starting out in college, I worked a lot in hospitals, bottom of the rung jobs. But I noticed something that it struck me as shocking at the time, and now it would seem like malpractice. They did so many hysterectomies on young women. I had a friend who had one when she was 25 years old because, it was too difficult to figure out what was wrong with you. It was easier just to yank out all the plumbing. Oh my God. It would be malpractice today. It's shocking. So remember I said that Clark Gable was not first choice for Rhett Butler?
Yeah.
Thank God they changed their minds because they wanted Gary Cooper.
Oh, that would not have worked.
See, that's how I felt.
I can't even see him with Vivian Leigh.
No chemistry. No. So Lombard was one of 70 million women in Hollywood who wanted to try out, for Scarlett O'Hara. Can she
Hmm.
talk about that competition a little bit? That must have been fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Carol, can you talk about the competition for Scarlett O'Hara? It was fierce. We all knew that was a plum part that was going to make a career. And so everyone had their heart set on it. But of course, realistically, many of us were not the right fit for it. And ultimately, I can say they made the right choice.
How perfect was Vivian Leigh for that role? Just professional opinion. I'm asking
She
you.
was Scarlett.
Now, what did Carole think?
Oh, so Carol, how perfect was Vivian for that part? Fit like a glove. Couldn't imagine anyone else in the role once she picked it up and made it her own.
I have to agree. You read the book, and I've always been a person who prefers to read a book first before I see a film version. And I had read the book several times before I ever got to see the movie, because in those days there was no Netflix. If a movie wasn't in a
Yeah,
theater, you didn't see it. So they, released the movie in the 30s, and then periodically every 10 or 15 years, maybe, they put it in the theaters again. And so the summer that I was about 12 or 13, maybe 14, they released it. And I remember what an event that was. First of all, it was a 5-hour movie. 5 hours.
yeah.
Incredible, right? And because it was so long, they did all day long. They played it over and over and over. So go to the movies in the middle of the day. That's always kind of weird. You come out of the dark movies and you're, whoa, it's broad daylight. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It was a stunning movie. They one of the few movies I've ever seen of a book. Now they didn't 5-hour movie, they left out a lot of the book.
Yeah,
But having said that, what they did do, they stayed true to the book, didn't you think?
I think, yeah.
Like Melanie, oh my God, she was perfect. It was incredible. Okay. So she was the screwball comedy, queen of comedy, but she also made a couple of serious movies that turned out to be as popular as her comedies. She was in Hitchcock's Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I didn't
Never
know that.
saw it.
They remade it with that scrawny woman with the big lips. What's her name? John Voight's daughter. What's her name?
Oh, Angelina Jolie.
I couldn't remember her name. Yeah, that was a Hitchcock film originally.
I didn't know that.
She made a movie that Mel Brooks later made, and it was excellent. But her version was excellent too, called To Be or Not to Be. And it was all about a stage production that was being interfered with and threatened by low-level Nazi, problems. It's where that song comes from,
Springtime for
Hitler in
Hitler.
Germany. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a satire about the political situation. It was made in 1941. So my question to her is, how much did ordinary people really know about what was going on in the Holocaust?
Um, so, Carol, can you tell us, what did the average person know about what was going on with the Holocaust? They actually knew very little as compared to today because we didn't have the access to the media that you do. Plus, there was a lot of cover up. And for some reason, the government wanted to baby the people like they were children and didn't want them to have the whole truth, as if they'd be too horrified or something. She's very disgusted about that, being treated in that fashion. But yeah, they had scant details, but not the gory details until later.
Here's a question that I don't have written down. Just occurred to me. So I'm sure she was aware that they put Japanese American citizens in what they called detention camps. They were concentration camps. And I'm wondering, how much about that did she know or think? What was the prevailing attitude?
So, Carol, did you know about the Japanese internment camps here in America? Were you aware of that? We were more aware of it in Hollywood than the average person was because we were closer to it. We were touched by it. And I was outraged by it, but I didn't really have the ability to do much about it. It's a dark day in the history of the country.
Yeah. Yeah. I get the feeling I would like her too. You know, she seems
Yeah.
like she had her head in the right place. So she goes on this Bond tour with her mother and her publicist, I think it was PR person. And there's this tension between them because she wants to get home to keep her eye on Lana Turner. And they had bad juju about the numerology. Can she talk a little bit about the numerology and the hesitation to get on that plane?
Yeah, so Carol, can you talk a little bit about the numerology and the hesitation, the discouragement from getting on that plane? She's like, if only I had listened. But at the time, it seemed ridiculous. And I wanted to be home. I wasn't going to let anything stop me. So I put aside any misgivings I had, decided to throw my fate to the wind and get home.
They tossed a coin.
Wait. Oh,
They did a coin toss to decide whether they'd fly or not because they couldn't agree.
I think she would have gone anyway. She wasn't going to be stopped.
How much did she hate Lana Turner?
Okay. So, Carol, how much did you hate Lana Turner? I despised her. She threw herself at my husband like a common hussy, degrading herself.
I have a great question. This just dawned on me. I don't know how to ask this. Does she know the truth about what happened with Lana Turner's husband and her daughter and the murder? Does she know who really? I mean, I have my opinion.
Yeah. So, Carol, do you know the true story behind the murder of Lana Turner's husband? No, she wasn't part of that.
Can she find out? Get back.
She also had her suspicions, she said.
Well,
so,
you know what they think happened.
Yeah.
Lana caught him in the act and
with her daughter.
She reacted.
Yeah.
And then they covered it up because the daughter, they knew that she would get a slap on the hand. Yeah. Wow. They wouldn't be able to get away with that now, I bet you, because of forensics.
Yeah. But we should ask Lana that if we ever talk to her.
I don't think she's not in this book, but it could be arranged. Yeah, it can be arranged. You know what? I don't know how to say this without sounding awful, but I kind of understand.
Yeah.
I might have been very tempted to react the same way. Okay. So did she, because we don't know the mechanics of how this works. So I'm curious. After the crash, did she stick around to sort of be there for Clark Gable, whether he knew it or not?
So, Carol, after the crash, you're out of your body. What did you do next? Well, I was stunned for a little while, so I kind of wandered around in a daze. But then, saw the light and was beckoned into the light, crossed over. So she didn't have very long in between that. She crossed over fairly quickly. But then once she was on the other side and she got adjusted, she was able to visit and check on Clark. She wasn't ready to be separated from him yet, and she wanted to be there to comfort him although he wasn't aware of her presence, but she was there.
I'm curious, she died pretty instantaneously, right? I mean, this was a devastating crash. What is that like? I mean, how, one minute you're sitting on a plane and the next minute you're not. What was that like?
Yeah. So, Carole, can you tell us about the moments leading up to the crash? What was that like? Well, as you can imagine, it's terrifying because you're headed for a crash. There's nothing you can do but sit there and watch. And then all of a sudden, it's like a switch gets flipped, and this sense of peace and calm comes over you. And then the next thing you know, you're not in your body anymore. So I didn't actually experience the crash. I was already out of my body before that happened, but I witnessed it. So I saw the plane go down. I saw what happened, but I didn't feel it. Blessedly, I was spared that.
That seems to be true of most people who undergo, like, have a near-death experience, and it's some sort of devastating accident. Almost universally, before the actual moment of injury or crash or whatever, they're already out of their body watching it unfold.
Yeah. It's like that movie, Heaven Can Wait.
You're not feeling the pain and the trauma that goes along with that. So if she doesn't mind, I'm very curious. So she finds herself out of her body. What's around her? What is she seeing around her?
So, Carole, what did you see around you when you were out of your body? Well, at first it was like I was standing in a field watching that plane go down. So everything looked normal, but it certainly didn't feel normal. And then I saw the light, which I went towards. And then I was in this entirely different space that was very warm, peaceful. It's hard to describe the feeling other than bliss. The highest level of bliss you can feel. Everything is all right. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's truly the personification is of God is in his heaven and all is right with the world. That's what that feels like. Nothing to worry about. And you just go on.
Who greeted her? Did she meet with other souls?
So who greeted you when you reached the other side? There was a team of angels, spirits, some of my
Did she
family.
know them? Did she recognize them?
Yeah. Some family who had crossed, and friends who had crossed, and pets. There were pets there too,
Oh,
from her childhood.
oh wow.
So it's pretty much anybody who wants to can attend the entry, and there are many who want to, and they show up. So it's quite the crowd.
So has she reincarnated?
Carole, have you reincarnated? No. I'm not coming down there where all that shit's going on.
My advice is stay where you are. Can you do us a favor? Is there something you can intercede with? Oh my God. Does she see what's going on in Washington, D.C.?
Well, apparently, yeah, it's beyond belief. And darling, I wish I could help you, but it's out of my hands.
Oh, come
Although
on.
I am sending all the energy and support
If
that
I
I
light
can.
a candle.
But some things have to play out.
Yeah.
There is a destiny at play here,
Yeah.
and it needs to work its way out. And then you'll be done with it. If you do something to interrupt it prematurely, it won't finish, and it will be even harder. You want it to finish. You want it to wind up, turn the page to the next chapter, and move on.
It's funny you would say that because Deborah and I were talking about this earlier, and the only way to get through this, to get over it, is to go through it. Man up and just go through it. Yeah. God.
No escape.
Okay. Yeah, no escape. Well, does she have any parting words that could be a little cheerier? Oh, there we go. That I have a
So,
sun going down. There's a window in this little room over
yeah,
here.
it's pretty.
Yeah, except I'm blinded. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So, Carol, is there anything that you would like to say before we say goodbye to you? I say you only live once in that body, so make it count. Have a good time. Love one another. Make the world a better place. Do all that you can to make that come true. And then when you get to the other side, I'll be here to greet you and congratulate you for all the good work that you did. Thank you on behalf
Well,
of all.
I want to say thank you for all the good work that you did, because you brought so much laughter, and it's my opinion that laughter heals almost better than anything.
Yeah. So thank you, Carol, for all the laughter and the uplifting work that you left behind, the legacy. Thank you for that.
Very much.
Yeah. She curtsied. It was my pleasure.
I'll take her up on the offer. I'll see her on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, so fascinating. Two people that they were not what I expected at all. How do you feel?
Well, I didn't know much about Carol. I've only seen a few of her movies, but she was very warm.
Yeah.
That's what I got. And Gable was also warm and down to earth. I can see why they came together.
Mhm.
There was that mutual attraction of a way of being that's different from the people around them. Set them
Well,
apart.
see, this is Sarah's argument in her book, that the people who came from the Midwest and went to Hollywood were different from the people who were a creature of the Hollywood machine.
Yes,
They never
that makes
quite
sense.
became, yeah. And it's funny, Denise and I were talking about this, and she, grew up in the Midwest, moved to Hollywood, and traveled in a lot of those circles. And she said the same thing. Now, I grew up in California, and I didn't travel in elite circles, and I traveled in a completely different level of people in California. And California is not all Hollywood elite. It's like anywhere else. You've got this little fraction of people that dominate. They make all the noise and they dominate the news, and somebody has to take out the garbage, somebody has to do the laundry, somebody has to make the food, and there are a lot of ordinary people in California. And something about California that is misunderstood: it's not full of lunatics. It's full of people who are willing to take a step back and allow you to be whoever or whatever you are. As long as no harm is done, you can express yourself however you want, believe whatever you want, no harm being done. And so they're very accepting and very tolerant. And plus, because it's multi-ethnic, it's a great place. Yeah, you wonder why I left, because I couldn't afford to live there. We couldn't afford to have children, because everybody wants to live there. So the cost of living is very high. But it's a beautiful, beautiful state. I mean, if you drove in one day in California, the length of one car trip, you could go from the ocean to the snow in one day.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
Yeah.
But
I lived in the San Joaquin Valley for about 4 months, and we did that.
And that's a whole Steinbeck country, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Salinas. And, what was I going to tell you about that? Oh, however, you might have been able to tell, I have an absolute draw to the California of the past. And it's not the movie stars. I mean, they're interesting, but it's the physical environment. I'm just so drawn to it. I don't know what it is.
Well, it was home. It's your roots, home.
Well, not the one I'm drawn. I'm drawn to the California.
Well, the old one.
Past, yeah. I remember California in the mid to late 50s, and it was paradise. It's very different now. It was paradise. It wasn't nearly as overpopulated. It wasn't as polluted. It wasn't overdeveloped. And it was truly a beautiful, beautiful place to live. And you didn't have to be wealthy to enjoy the benefits of that, because things were not overdeveloped and limited and withheld from people. So there was a time when it was sort of the peak time in California. But before the turn of the last century, the late 1800s, early 1900s, California was cow town. It was cowboys. It was dirt streets and wooden sidewalks and false front. I mean, it was a Western in real life, and it was very underpopulated. And it had a strong flavor of Mexico, because, Alta California, right? It changed quite a bit because of the movie industry. And that came to California for the weather. Because in the silent films, they had these sets that were open on one side to the air with no ceiling. They were just three temporary walls, and they'd have 6 or 7 of them in a row, and they'd be making all these different movies side by side because they were silent and you couldn't hear anything. So directors would be yelling at people, and people would be taking instructions. And yeah, it was a really interesting period of time. The ranch where the Manson family lived, the Spawn Ranch was a movie colony. It's where they did a lot of Westerns. They had the fake Western towns and the horse corrals and barns and stuff from the way olden days. You look at old Western movies from Hollywood, and you see them riding their horses through the plains. They're in the San Fernando Valley. Or they're up by where the Kardashians live now. Yeah, all mansions now. Times change. So Deborah, I think our work here is done tonight. I think we did a masterful job. Are you exhausted? That was 2 hours, over 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm a little tired, but it was good. I really enjoyed Gable, especially because I've always had a thing for him.
Me too. I didn't expect to like those two spirits as much as I really did. So that was fun. Well, thank you. And
You're welcome.
I won't torture you anymore tonight, but we'll get this out, and everybody stick around, because we'll come up with some more people to talk to.
Yeah, there's lots of them.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Deborah. I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was fun.
It was real fun. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll be back when we get back. And in the meantime, Slanga Foil and Slancha.
Bye.